Everybody this evening. We've been working on the guard over the last couple of weeks in our fundamentals program. Last week specifically, we were talking about using the half guard position. The half guard is not necessarily a guard that we want to proactively try to be in. However, we will find ourselves there occasionally. However, this week, we're going to be focusing on the open guard, specifically talking about our spider guard. We've worked on the spider guard previously, a couple of weeks, both looking at situations when our opponent is standing and situations when our opponent is kneeling. We're going to be dealing again with a standing opponent this evening and this week, but we're going to be focused on the spider lasso position, I want us to start off tonight by warming up by reviewing getting to the spider guard, and we're going to be using the spider guard as a retention tool to defend when our opponent is looking to perform a TOREANDO guard pass. So let me explain what all of that means. So we're going to be starting off this evening in a good butterfly guard position. So I'm going to be facing my training partner here. Now, I'm playing guard. I want to be in a seated guard until I can make meaningful grips on my opponent to control the distance between the two of us. However, my partner is going to start by initiating with double pant grips. As soon as my partner gets this double pant grip, he has double lever control, and this should be a big threat. Right now, if I don't do anything, he's going to start to pin my legs and start to run around and perform a TOREANDO pass to pin me down and get to a top position. So what I need to do, the moment my opponent makes grips on my pants, I'm going to counter grip. So I'm going to be grabbing the closest thing to me, which is going to be double sleeve grips here. I can't grab the pants or the legs, they're too far away. And if I were to grab the collars, let's see if that would have any effect here. Not really, because I'm not controlling his ability to drop his body weight. So what we're going to be doing is as soon as they make grips on our pants, I'm going to counter grip. Now, my training partner is going to be a good, helpful partner, and they're just going to start to do a bear crawl like you saw Coach Seth doing to one side or the other. It doesn't really matter. But as Coach Seth starts doing a bear crawl, I'm going to follow, and I'm going to put my spider hooks right on the insides of his elbows here. These hooks are actively connecting to his elbows, and I want to keep my feet nice and flexed. Notice how my sleeve grips are still strong, and let's pay special attention to the positioning of my legs. I need to ensure that my legs are acting as frames to maintain distance between us. So you may think, well, let me try to extend and push my legs really hard. The problem with that is now I've created very simple levers that my opponent can now access to pin my legs. So what I want to do instead is I want to keep my knees bent as close to my chest as possible. This is going to make it so that I'm creating two separate levers out of my legs. If he starts to push my legs, he will only affect my shins. My thighs can still stay in good structure. Additionally, I want to make sure my knees are flared open wide. If my knees come together, look how my feet naturally come off of his elbows. This will allow him to, again, redirect and start to pass my guard. So I'm keeping my grips, knee and elbow connection strong, feet connected. And now from here, my partner is simply going to walk around me in a good bear crawl position. So a good flat back, he's going to walk around. Notice how I keep my hips up, my head up. This allows me to follow him side to side. Alrighty, guys, let's look again. Starting from our butterfly guard, my opponent grabs onto my pants. As soon as he does this, I'm going to match his grips, and my partner's just going to run to one side or the other. I need to follow and catch him as he runs. I'm catching it with my spider guard hooks. Now from here, he's going to just move around me side to side, and I'm maintaining my connections as he does. Notice I'm not pushing, I'm not trying to lift, nothing like this. I'm keeping good connections the whole way around. When we do this, guys, we're going to do it in 30-second rounds. So that means 30 seconds, my partner's going to look to do the TOREANDO, and I'm going to connect. And then we're just going to move around. 30 seconds, don't reset. All right? Then once the bell rings, you can switch top and bottom and perform the same drill. Does anybody have any questions? All right, guys, let's grab ourselves some partners. Let's go. 1, 2. This is a very good guard retention drill. The spider guard is commonly used as a way to defend the guard by accessing levers to our opponent's shoulder to shift their center of gravity to make it harder for them to pass our guard. The spider guard itself is relatively low on the offensive scale. There are attacks that we can do with the spider guard. The drawback with the spider guard is that we don't have any lower body control. That's something like with De La Riva. We have a really good lower body control with the De La Riva hook. Spider guard is more so used in a control aspect. So we're going to now work on the spider lasso position. I'm going to show what that looks like. Before we do, I wanted to share a couple of little notes about the spider guard as you guys were just practicing it. So remember, we're using this in a guard retention format. As beginners in Jiu Jitsu, your top priority should be guard retention. This is the #1 area that you need to be focused on, because if your guard retention becomes strong, your confidence is going to increase quite a lot, because you're going to have the confidence to attack different things because you're not scared about them passing. So again, we're looking to create a reaction here. The second he makes grips, I need to start to make grips back on him. Maybe he doesn't move. Maybe he just sits here, in which case I can start to upgrade to get to better control points. But we're looking at a toreando. My partner starts to pass, so I meet him with my spider guard. Now, some of us were looking to start to extend one leg at a time. There's nothing wrong with this. This is a good way to create extra lever control. The only issue is that in the world of Jiu Jitsu, where the leg drag is super prominent, extending legs is making it really easy for my opponent to just leg drag me and pass. So this is why we generally don't really recommend the whole push-pull thing too much anymore, right? That's a little bit more of an old school approach. It's sometimes used to extend, but more often than not, we're just going to keep our legs isometrically strong by keeping them close to our body. So now when coach goes to leg drag, it's very hard for him to do that. If I start to create extension here, he can now very easily leg drag and get around. So let's now look at our lasso position. The lasso is, again, a very strong tool to defend our guard. We're starting in the same spider guard position. From here, I'm going to demonstrate how we're going to utilize a lasso. It looks like this. So this is our lasso. So the lasso is just another form of lever control. It's simulating the same spider hook, as you can see, by stepping on their elbow. However, now I have the added benefit of using my thigh to hold one side of his hand as my foot comes over and locks in the top of his arm. So call it a lasso because it's kind of like I'm wrapping up his arm. There are different forms of the lasso. There's kind of 3. This is what we're doing tonight. This is called a shallow lasso. It's very shallow. It's just stepping on their elbow. We have a middle or kind of mid-stage lasso where I just tuck my toes under their armpit. And then we have our deep lasso where I wrap my leg all the way through the back. These all serve different purposes. For our purposes this evening and this week, we're just going to stick with the shallow lasso. So let's look at how we get to this position. We're going to do the lasso on both sides. We need to be able to defend our guard on both sides. So I'm going to start with my left foot here. When I'm ready to go to a lasso, I'm going to take my foot and I'm just going to drop it. Notice how I'm not putting my foot on the mat. We never put our feet on the floor when we're playing guard. If I put my feet on the floor, I've now taken away my primary leg press, which is the way that we defend our guard. So I'm going to simply drop my foot. But now from here, I'm going to do a kick break. So a kick break is how we make our partner let go of our pants. I can't really circle my leg too efficiently right now because he's holding on to me. If I try to circle to put the lasso in, he can follow me with his elbow and block my foot. So look what I'm going to do. As soon as I drop my foot here, I'm going to kick my left foot up to his hip. As I pull his his right hand, my left side, as I pull this hand into my pocket. So what I'm doing is I'm breaking his grip by pulling against his fingers. My leg goes one way, his hand comes the other. Now, once I've gotten that hand close to my hip, I'm going to circle my foot and bring my heel right on top of his elbow. So it should be mirroring my other foot positioning, relatively on the elbow here. But his arm is now extended, and now I'm keeping a strong grip with my knuckles framing into my own thigh. So now when he tries to pull this arm out, it's very, very stuck. My right hand will always be on this other sleeve grip for right now. I'm not letting go. I was simply using that to demonstrate. From this position, I'm going to have the top player just circle around in the same bear crawl for just 5 seconds so we can feel the control of this position. So it's a circle, circle, and control. Okay, guys? Let's look at the whole thing. I want you to start off with using the spider guard to defend against the toreando, just so that we get good repetition of that. So I'm in my butterfly guard here to start. He makes grips, and he starts to run. I fall back. I get to my spider guard. I kick break. I put in my lasso, and now 5 seconds. He's going to move. Just keep your lasso tight. Head up, hips up, making sure I'm keeping regulated tension with my legs. If my feet are just cosmetically touching him, he can just walk up and start to stack me. This should never happen. My legs should constantly be keeping him right in this awkward middle stage where he can't come close, but he also can't go away from me without me staying connected. I'd like us to practice both sides. So when we practice, as your partner starts to attack the toreando, you can do the other side lasso as well, okay? It really doesn't make a big difference which side you put the lasso in on. It honestly comes down to personal preference. Sometimes you'll hear when they're passing, you want to put the lasso in on the opposite side of the direction they're going towards. Again, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Just try both sides with the lasso, okay guys? So I'm going to show one more time, nice and slow, and then we'll break it down. All right, so here we go. Alrighty guys, very simple. We're just gonna set up the lasso, like 5 seconds from the top player, just moving around side to side, check their connections. Any questions? Done? Great question. So this is actually a really common thing. People were like, well, the lasso's, you'll feel it. The lasso's super powerful. Why don't we just do both lassos, right? Why don't I do what we call a double lasso? The reason we don't do double lassos is because now I have 0 offensive options now. I have nothing I can do to attack this person. This is what we would call stalling position. And that's a perfectly fine usage of it, right? If there's 10 seconds left in the match and I just don't want this guy to pass, I'm just gonna double lasso and just hold onto their arms so they just cannot do any guard passes on me. But again, I don't have anything offensive I can realistically do. I need to let go of the lasso, at least on one side, to start attacking in various ways. So, good question. Alrighty guys, let's get back to our partners. 1, 2, cool, cool, cool. Anybody have any questions so far on using that lasso, Dalton?
When we get the lasso, we tuck it down. How do we keep it locked down there versus him just pulling and me pulling?
Yep, so that's gonna be where our knuckles come in. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my 4 knuckles to brace against my own thigh. You see? So I'm obviously exaggerating this, but my 4 knuckles are bracing against my thigh here. So when he tries to pull his arm back, he's fighting not just my hand and arm strength, he's fighting against my thigh. My thigh should be like a wall. Okay? This does require a little bit of grip and finger strength, so that's just something you develop over time, but that's what I'm doing. My knuckles are bracing against my thigh. Okay. Great question. Any other questions, guys? All right, cool. So we're gonna do a little sweep now with the lasso guard. So the lasso guard, kind of similar to the spider, there's very few offensive options, okay? One of the big offensive things that a lot of people are shown is frankly not a very high percentage option. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. And I'll explain why it's not the most high percentage option and why we're not using it tonight. However, it does have its place. We even do have a video lesson of this on our YouTube channel. But it's frankly just not a very high percentage option. And that is kind of like this trap sweep, where I take my foot off of him, he starts to pass my guard, and I use that to like load him up and sweep him over. This is kind of like the quintessential lasso sweep that a lot of people learn. Here's why that's not the best option. You should never sweep someone based on the fact that you're trying to trick them and allowing them to pass your guard. A good guard passer is just going to pass your guard, okay? I shouldn't be like, aha, if I lay this little trap and pretend like I'm gonna let you pass. Again, a good guard passer, they're just gonna pass your guard. They're not gonna fall for that trap, okay? However, let's look at a similar option that's gonna be far more efficient while helping us actually maintain a good guard. And this is gonna be the overhead sweep. We've looked at overhead sweep options from 2 other positions, the De La Riva and the collar and sleeve guard. We're gonna now do this from the lasso guard. Let's take a look. So starting off the same way, he attacks the Toreando, I've set up my lasso, and I'm right here. I'm gonna start to attack the overhead sweep. I'll demonstrate it, and then we'll break it down. Here we go. So this is our overhead sweep from the lasso position. Now, it looks very similar to the first sweep that I showed, but the big difference is what's happening over here with this right leg. I am not gonna say, hey, go ahead and pass my guard because I got a little something for you. No, I'm gonna maintain my frames because that's what you should be doing when you're playing guard. So I'm starting here in the lasso. I'm gonna need to control my opponent's leg now with my right hand. I'm gonna keep everything on the lasso side completely locked in. So my right hand is gonna let go of the sleeve. I'm still gonna maintain this strong kind of like monkey toe curl here with my foot, just to keep some semblance of lever control. But my goal is to grab his leg on my right side. If that leg is already close to me, then we're just gonna go ahead and grab the pants. However, if the leg is not close to me, I'm gonna force him to step towards me by using this spider hook as I lift it, causing him to step. Now I can let go, and I'm going to reach down to grab the pants. You can also underhook as well, of course. It's whichever option you like. I generally prefer pant grips because they're just so strong and hard to break. Now, from this position, I'm going to pull myself close to the leg that I'm grabbing. My right foot is now going to step off of the bicep, and I'm going to start to frame on his hip. I'm going to keep my knee and elbow close on this right side. This right side is creating what we call an X guard. I know we're doing a lot of guards this evening, okay, but this is a position that we would call an X guard style position, okay, a modified X. So now from here, I'm going to use a leg press with my right leg as I drive my heel down to the mat on the left side. Because I have this lever control to his shoulder, as I drive the lasso down, that presents the shoulder to the mat. As my right foot creates a leg press, I start to elevate my partner's hips as I drive them over to that shoulder. Now, as soon as they've hit the mat, that's half of the sweep done. We now need to complete the second half, which is the come up. What I don't want to do is this. I don't want to keep both the sleeve grip and the pant grip and then come up and fold his hand like this. This is called a bicep slicer, and this is an illegal submission all the way up until brown belt. So unless you're a brown belt, you're not allowed to do bicep slicers. So all that means is this: just let go of the sleeve and use your shin to scrape that arm. I can still use a shin trap here, so I'm trapping his wrist, but I'm no longer crushing his bicep underneath my thighs. Okay? From here, we can either come up to a knee on belly position or a good side control position to finish. Alrighty, guys, let's look again. So I'm starting off here in my spider lasso guard. So from spider lasso, I need to get the far side leg so I can use my hook to make him step. I grab, and now I pull myself. Look how I'm dipping my right elbow underneath. So I'm kind of using my forearm like a shield to hold his leg up. Now I can start to step on his hip. I'm going to create a leg press, and I want him to fall towards this shoulder. Not towards his head, not towards this leg, not towards his hand. I'm going to leg press as I lift his leg up, and I dump him. As soon as I dump him here, let go of the sleeve. You can post your hand to help you get up. I don't recommend letting go of the pants because now I don't have any form of leg control. He can start to either reestablish his base with a hip switch or a hip heist, or he can just put me back into a guard. So look, keep that pant grip. I can start to fold that leg down so that way I collapse his guard so he can't start to control me, and I can finish in a good top position. I'll demonstrate one more time, nice and slow through the whole thing. We'll do it again from this perspective. So my partner grabs the toreando. Here we go. I'm finishing in a good top position. So this is our overhead sweep. I'm focusing on using a leg press to lift their hips up, and I'm using the lasso to guide their shoulder down to the mat. Does anybody need to see it again? Rob, please. Yes. No, not at all. You can use an underhook. Underhook's totally fine. The only thing that you need to think about is that if I do have the underhook here, I would probably still want to grab onto something, just because an underhook is good, but he can circle his foot out, and now I've lost the grip. So that's why I do prefer grabbing onto the pants and using my elbow to underhook his leg. So now it's really hard. Even if he kicks his leg out, I'm still controlling it. That can actually help me finish the sweep. Alrighty, guys? Any questions? Take your time. 1, 2. Okay, guys. This is looking really good. I want to just do one more quick round of drilling that for just a couple minutes, and then we'll jump into some specific training rounds. Does anybody have any questions on this overhead sweep? Okay, so I want you, again, to understand how we're not giving up any form of control. I'm not taking my frames off of them. I'm not letting them pass my guard, right? This is silly. This is not a good way to approach sweeping people. I want to sweep you because I'm controlling your body at every point, okay? So when we're doing this sweep, guys, a couple things that I was noticing. Some of us were using that pant grip, but remember, if you use that pant grip, I want you to try to get your elbow underneath their ankle. So look what I'm doing. I'm kind of twisting my palm up to the sky, and that's going to allow me to lead with my right elbow so I can lift with my elbow here. Okay, you can, again, underhook the leg too. That's okay. But if you underhook, I would recommend just grabbing onto something. Okay, guys? But now it's going to be more of like me trying to do a bicep curl to lift, which can be tricky. That's why I like using my elbow. So now I'm more of using my shoulder to lift their leg up. From this position, guys, I'm trying to get nice and close. My foot that was once framing the spider guard, it's going to frame on the hip because I'm trying to make my partner fly like Superman. I'm trying to lift them up. That's why we call this the overhead sweep, because I want to lift them up over my head. So I come under, and now my foot's framing on the hip. Remember, guys, keep a good knee-elbow connection. If I'm letting my legs extend, then I start to lose control. So I'm keeping everything nice and tight. All right, guys, and now from here, I'm trying to pull this shoulder down to the mat. So I'm bringing my foot down. You see how I'm bringing the lasso down to the floor as I lift and I get his foot off the mat. Once we're in this position, guys, I'm going to be able to really easily come up because I have opposite corner rotational control. I'm rotating his left hip via the lever to the hip here on the leg. I'm controlling his right shoulder via the lasso. And as I leg press and extend, I take him away. Okay, if you're having trouble coming up, then just focus on sliding away from them. If you just stand up, then you're going to be fine. Don't worry too much about like that bicep slicer. It's just an important thing to keep in your mind, right? Don't purposefully come up and crush their arm. That's all I'm saying, right? Just kind of come up however you can, keep their legs folded, and then get to that top position. Alrighty, guys? We'll do one more quick round of drilling that. Remember, if their foot's already close enough, you don't need to extend their arm. Just grab the pants. But if their feet's far away, extend the spider hook, cause them to stagger and step, and get that pant grip. Alrighty, guys? Last round. Let's go. 1, 2.